Bernie Sanders has announced that he intends to close the tax loopholes that have allowed Donald Trump and other people like him to evade numerous taxes. In Donald Trump's case, 18 years of federal taxes because of what is legally allowed for him to do, but should not actually exist when it comes to paying taxes when you're in the real estate business. Now, we're going to break down specifically what he intends to change in the tax code, but you should know that this is going to happen once the 2017 edition of Congress actually starts. And he announced this with this statement saying, special tax breaks and loopholes in a corrupt tax code enable billionaires and powerful corporations to avoid paying their fair share of taxes while sticking the burden on the middle class. It's time to create a tax system which is fair, which asks the wealthy and powerful to start paying their fair share of taxes. And what I love is that the way things are currently set up, we know that we're only going to get more of that if Donald Trump becomes president, because his tax plan would benefit exactly people like Donald Trump. And so here are a couple of the things that Bernie Sanders intends to change, just 2 of the 4. The first is getting rid of an exemption for real estate from at-risk rules. This is a bit in-depth, but back in 1986, this was changed. It barred taxpayers from claiming losses for investment beyond the money that they actually put in or were directly liable for. Real estate was exempted from this, which means that Trump and people like him could claim losses exceeding what they had actually invested. And that's what's most amazing, is that when you do some of these big real estate deals, you will put in a tiny fraction of the total money that a project demands. Banks will put in the vast majority. But if the project goes under, you get to claim losses on all of that money, even if the money that you were personally liable for was 1% or 0.1% of all of the money. That is legal to do, even though it makes no sense whatsoever to any regular person actually looking at that.
Yeah. So some of these rules do make sense. So if you lose money in 1 year, you get to transfer some of that loss onto the next year because, well, you're still trying to dig yourself out of that hole. And I understand that. You might want to put a cap on that, but that's a reasonable thing to do. Mm-hmm. There's one rule here, and my family worked in real estate, so maybe I'm biased here, but I think it makes sense. You're buying a property that's of lesser value than the one that you're selling. Instead of having to pay taxes immediately and then buy the next real estate with less money because you pay taxes on it, you can just buy that other real estate and not pay taxes in the middle. Okay, you can argue about that one.
Bernie says that a lot of the times that's used, that's manipulated, where they're doing basically these swaps, not because they genuinely want the property or they have anything to do with each other, but specifically to avoid taxes.
Yeah, and so...
And it can probably be used honestly and dishonestly, depending on the person.
No question. But there are so many loopholes that no one can defend, including the one where, and by the way, in real estate, it's normal. You put in 20%, and you know this from if you own a house. You put in X percentage. And in big real estate deals, it might actually be less than 20% or less than you have to put in for your mortgage. But you put in some percentage, and the bank puts in the rest, and then they circulate that money. Again, nothing wrong with that. But it's insane to say, okay, I didn't really lose that money, but I'm going to claim it as a loss. Why? No, you just like a loophole, and you bribe some politicians to get it, and now you have it. Yeah. There's no reason for that loophole. There's no logic in it. It's like the carried interest for the private equity guys. So there's a lower rate of taxes for the money that you invest. Now, I don't think that's logical either, but okay, let's grant them that for the moment being. But the private equity guys get to claim that on money that they made for investing other people's money. Wait a minute, that's not your investment. That's your job to do that investment. You're getting paid a salary, in essence, for that. So why do you get the lower tax rate on that? Because you're cheating, and you've bought off politicians who allow you to cheat so that we all have to pay the taxes and you don't.
Well, when I worked as a waiter in an Italian restaurant, I would often write off plates of linguine that I brought to tables. Doesn't make any sense.
That's right. You didn't eat that.
You didn't need that.
There'll always be people that'll say, oh yeah, there's things that are going to exist and loopholes exist and it's hard to get them to throw them out. We're smarter than that. These a lot of times these plans, this legislation have so many pages, they can figure how to make sure you don't go around things. How come when I go to the DMV, I can't have a loophole around not registering my license in time? My registration fails, or if my registration doesn't happen in time, there's no loophole for me to get around that. That stuff's
I just paid big specifically
pretty
for that.
airtight. Yeah.
Yeah, they got me.
If I'm lagging on my insurance, trust me, there's no loophole around that because they don't want you to get around these things.
Yeah.
You're just a regular guy.
Should have
So,
donated
and
more money.
that's not an accident. It's not like the poor and the middle class caught a bad break. No, that's when we talk about the rigged system, we're not talking about anything that happens in a closed room, behind closed doors, I should say. We're talking about things that happen in the open where they say, okay, now we will write the laws to benefit the people who have given us campaign donations.
Yeah.
You can't afford campaign donations. So since you can't give a big campaign donation, a big check that grabs anybody's attention, that's why you have no loopholes. That's why you have to pay your taxes, and if you don't, you can go to jail.
Yeah.
But these guys think, jail? No. Let's just rewrite the law so we don't have to pay it in the first place. We just take what was illegal previously and make it legal. And by the way, again, we're not being unreasonable here. There are, in my opinion, plenty of tax laws that make sense, and where you say, hey, I lost money, and then so this year when I make money, I shouldn't have to. Like, for example, if you win money gambling, but earlier in the year you lost even more money, you don't have to pay money on the money that you won at the end when you lost so much more earlier in the year. That law makes sense to me, especially me.
Yeah. Hey, you should be more careful in the future, but I get what you're saying.
Right, but there are some laws that are clearly unfair.
Yeah,
They're meant to be unfair.
And I have an example of that. So you talk all the time about the incentives that we set up. So there was a reference in one of the articles I was reading to a particular deal that Trump had done where he had to put in $300,000 on a project that banks put in more than $30 million on. In the end, the project goes down, and so he gets to claim $30 million of losses.
Insane.
So there was no way that he was going to make $30 million or $15 million on that project if it succeeded. It ended up being far more valuable to him that the project failed. And when you set up the incentives where real estate developers would rather that their project goes under than succeed wildly, you might have a system that's not sustainable in the long run. And that's what we saw many times over. That was just one of these deals that he was able to evade 18 years of federal taxes based on.
Okay, so please, let's do the math on this real quick. I know it's overly simplistic, but it gives you a good sense of why they want these things. You put in $300,000. If things go great, maybe you make $3 million. But if you lose that investment completely, and you get to call it a $30 million loss, let's say your taxes are in the ballpark of 33%.
Yeah.
If you're in Trump's supposed bracket, they're actually much higher than that. But to keep it simple, that means you get to claim $10 million in losses and not pay or save $10 million because you're claiming $30 million in losses. Yeah. So that's $10 million you saved in taxes for a $300,000 investment. And you would have only, if it had gone well, you make $3 million. If it goes poorly, you make $10 million. You see, that's the rigged system.
Yeah.
That's the system that where the rich gave campaign donations to the politicians and wrote laws where they can't lose and you can't win. And the idea that Donald Trump would change that system is hilarious. He is the corrupter. He's the one who took advantage of that system. That doesn't mean that, well, he knows how to fix it. He doesn't even say he will fix it. Okay, then how are you going to get money out of politics? Not a single plan, never talks about it, never even said he was going to get money out of politics. How are you going to fix this tax system? No plan to fix the tax system. He didn't even say he was going to fix the tax system.
To make it worse.
Right? So you're putting the guy in charge who created the problem in the first place and he doesn't tell you that he's going to fix it. He has no intention of fixing it. That's how he got everything. You know that in New York City alone, he got $885 million in tax breaks, so tax subsidies. Now, if I gave you $200 million, which is what his dad gave him, and then I gave you $885 million in tax breaks because you paid off a couple of politicians, you'd have a lot of money too.
Yeah.
In fact, you'd have a lot more than Donald Trump.
Now, what I would like to see is next year when Bernie Sanders puts this forward, let's see how many Republicans and also how many Democrats actually back it.
Yes.
I would like to see Hillary Clinton come out in favor of this. Seems like an easy win for her during an election to come out against Trump on this. Will she actually do that? We'll see.
No, that's such a great point by John. So we know Bernie's going to do the right thing. That's why we backed him in the first place. And so this is a layup, right? Now watch. This layup will lose. The Republicans who claim that they're against crony capitalism will in unison vote against this proposal. Go, it increases taxes. What they're saying is it rightfully increases taxes that they should be paying on our donors who support our party. So they will not back this proposal, full well knowing it screws you. You'll have to pay higher taxes to make up for the taxes they're not paying. And the Democratic Party will huff and they will puff and at least half of them will vote no.
Yeah.
And it won't pass. So now we could be wrong. Let's see what happens.
I hope
Maybe
we are.
Hillary Clinton is a real progressive, and after she wins, she takes off the Scooby-Doo mask and goes, "Aha! I'm a real liberal. We're going to do this plan, and I'm going to insist on it." Right? We'll see. I wouldn't bet the house on it.